And if you've seen Tony Khan on Twitter, you'll know that the AEW president often rants about wrestling, especially when it comes to his competition. Khan has often used cage match ratings about AEW's match quality to promote his product online, and it seems that he doesn't like others poking fun at this behavior. As announced on this week's Raw, Jinder Mahal will challenge World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins next week, and this isn't the first time that these two have faced off. When Raj Giri pointed out that these two competed to determine the first ever NXT champion in 2012, the USA Network had some fun, asking what the cage match rating was. The USA Network's post did not go unnoticed by Tony Khan, who ranted that a moral victory for USA is one more win than Mahal has had on WWE TV in the past year. Khan sarcastically said that WWE has really put AEW in our place by giving Jinder Mahal a match on TV, essentially burying the former WWE champion. Eric Bischoff would then weigh in, sharing a clown emoji to describe Khan, though it's a bit rich that the former WCW magnate is against Khan burying the competition. Nevertheless, Khan fired back, telling Bischoff, "Get out of my sight, you miserable has-been," and Bischoff corrected him, saying he's a groundbreaking miserable has-been. One fan pointed out that Khan gave Abaddon a title shot after she'd been off AEW TV for over a year, and said it's the exact same situation as we're seeing with Mahal. Bischoff then asked Khan if this was true or just a bot, a nod to a previous outburst by Khan, who claimed that an army of WWE organized bots were coming for his company. Khan fought back, saying Abaddon won a four-way to earn a title shot, and saying it was completely different from going a full year losing every match and then getting a world title match. TK wasn't done with Bischoff, adding that reading would be your friend, and Eazy-E responded by saying that his reading skills are wizard-like, and that Khan's insult is a line from Dave Meltzer. It should come as no surprise that Khan and Bischoff are warring, but what does Jinder Mahal himself think of being buried by the AEW president in such a manner? In his first tweet in 2 years, Mahal simply asked, "Who the f*** took?" and encouraged fans to tune into Raw at 8 p.m. Eastern on the USA Network. Former WWE personality Jonathan Coachman also weighed in, saying that he and others in WWE used to get amused at those who counted wins like wrestlers had earned them. Coach added that he could have been world champion if Vince McMahon operated this way, but the storyline didn't warrant it, and the stories are more important than predetermined wins. Coachman thought a boss like Khan would understand it, and let's not forget that there was a time when AEW was insistent on tracking wins to determine challengers for its titles. That idea slipped away though, as wrestlers who were always getting wins, like FTR, were not constantly in title matches, as back then, Khan prioritized storylines over predetermined wins. Mahal would later delete his tweet poking fun at Hook, and a fan also questioned why Tony Khan is so eager to talk about WWE when he won't speak on the allegations against Chris Jericho. 2024 has already been a big year for Jinder Mahal, who in the first 10 days has shared the ring with The Rock, received a world title shot, and has been trending on Twitter. This has been a messy situation between Mahal, Khan, Coachman, Bischoff, and fans who also weighed in, but who do you think is right? Let us know in the comments. Over to NXT, as this week's show saw the crowning of a new champion, marking the first title change across the entire WWE in 2024. On the show, Dragon Lee returned to defend his NXT North American title in the main event, and Lee retained against Lexis King after hitting the Operation Dragon. This wouldn't be his only match though, as Obafemi, the winner of the NXT Men's Breakout Tournament, cashed in his contract, starting a title match with Lee that the champ wasn't ready for. Lee tried to go for another Operation Dragon, but the Nigerian superstar caught him and dropped him on the mat with a powerbomb to win the coveted title, his first in WWE. Femi wasted no time in cashing in his contract, which is in stark contrast to Damian Priest, who despite several attempts has yet to cash in the Money in the Bank contract he's held since July. Next week on Raw, Seth Rollins will defend his World Heavyweight Championship against Jinder Mahal, giving Priest another opportunity to cash in his guaranteed title opportunity. Will Priest match the success of Obafemi and soon hold the most coveted title on Raw? Or will he be thwarted once again? Let us know down in the comments. Throughout the year, Cody Rhodes has made clear that he intends to finish the story and become a WWE World Champion despite his devastating loss to Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 39. Up until a few months ago, Rhodes' path seemed certain, as fans expected him to win this year's Rumble and challenge Reigns again in Philly, but the landscape of Mania 40 is now uncertain. CM Punk's return to WWE in November 2023 has added a layer of intrigue, with Punk hinting at potential feuds with Roman Reigns and World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins. Then there's The Rock, who fueled rumors of a match with his cousin during his Day 1 return, with some speculating that this match, not Roman vs. Rhodes, will headline WrestleMania. Despite the increased competition, Cody Rhodes remains resolute in his commitment to finishing his story, as he told Sports Illustrated, "The Rock is the great one, he's still electrifying. CM Punk is one of the greatest stars in the history of wrestling. I know what I'm up against. Look at the roster, it's loaded with stars, but that doesn't bother me. I'm not flinching. I'm not rooting against anyone else. I'm just working to make it happen." We'll have to see how Triple H books his first WrestleMania without Vince McMahon weighing in, and who do you think should be standing tall in Philadelphia when all is said and done? In the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, Bron Breakker and Baron Corbin struggled to synergize, but still protected each other throughout their match, which saw the pair defeat Gallus. Cody Rhodes narrated a video package on the Dusty Classic, and after this opener, this match went arguably overly long, but it was an engaging showcase for all involved. Breakker looked like he was working on a different level to everyone else, and these two teams gave a hard-hitting battle for a division that has lost established teams like the Creeds and Los Lotharios. The Dusty Classic has struggled to highlight the complete tag team division, creating makeshift teams to fill the numbers, and in addition to Bron and Corbin, we have Nathan Frazer and Axiom this year. This hurts the credibility of established teams like Gallus that lost to a duo that was destroying the Performance Center to hurt each other a few months ago. Corbin missed Wolfgang with a right hand, landing a punch squarely on a steel post. This left him with an injured hand throughout the home stretch of the match. WWE showed the complete bracket for the Men's Dusty Classic and announced that the final would happen at Vengeance Day, but we can't see Breakker and Corbin standing tall at that event. This duo can tell a great story together, but they are not a tag team yet, and perhaps it'll be Carmelo Hayes, who convinced Trick Williams to team in the Classic, who will be winning the entire thing. In another Dusty Classic match, Hank Walker and Tank Ledger looked great early on, but after Axiom wiped out Hank with a running knee, a Phoenix Splash by Frazer scored his team the win. Hank and Tank were the highlight, showcasing their team synergy and unique power moves together, and Frazer and Axiom looked like two exciting individuals in comparison. For that reason, the wrong team won again in the Dusty Classic, but Frazer and Axiom have more obvious chemistry as a team if this is a long-term plan. If these teams wanted to fight again with more time in the future, we wouldn't say no, as there's clearly something that could help elevate the tag division. Now, Frazer and Axiom will face Corbin and Breakker, with the winners advancing to the finals to face either Chase U, the LWO, Mello and Hayes, or Adric Enofi and Malik Blade. It was back in September that WWE released Matt Riddle, and while he's been announced for several events and has a deal with MLW, there's been no hint that he'll soon be All Elite. That's despite the fact that many former WWE stars, especially prominent ones, end up joining AEW, but the original bro isn't planning on making that jump just yet. Speaking on a Signed by Superstars autograph livestream, Riddle was asked about AEW and said that given that a lot of talent go there after being released, he wanted to think outside the box. Riddle added that New Japan, MLW, and the Indies is where he plans on displaying his art, as there's less pressure on performers compared to the constant time cues he experienced in WWE. Riddle added that TNA wrestling isn't out of the picture either, but for now, he wants to work in Japan and has made that a priority. Matt Riddle may find his way to AEW eventually, but he's not climbing over anyone to get a spot, and joining AEW wasn't all that discussed during the signing. Riddle was also asked about his 2022 feud with Seth Rollins, which saw Rollins take aim at Riddle's wife leaving him after he admitted to having an affair. That line was the most personal and cutting promo fans had seen on WWE TV in a very long time, but it was one that Riddle had no issue with. As he explained, "Was the promo scripted between me and Seth Rollins? Not only was it scripted, I told Seth to say it. I said, you know there's already all this flack and whatever crap going on. I was like, yeah, sure." Rollins was happy to fulfill Riddle's request, and the line would help add another layer to their match at Clash at the Castle, which would see Seth get the win. During the signing, Riddle was also asked about his plans to square off with Goldberg and said that he'd still love a shot at the WWE Hall of Famer. He said, "I personally would love to work with William Goldberg. He would be a great match. I think I could get something out of him that people haven't seen in years, and it'd be great for business. It'd be really good for me, but at the end of the day, you can't. If he wants to do it, he'll do it. If he needs to do it, he'll do it. There's a couple of places we could do that. I would imagine, maybe an AEW, TNA, or NJPW. If it was going to happen, it would probably be in AEW. While Riddle would love to work with Goldberg, he has often bashed the latter's wrestling skills, so this match may not be one Goldberg is eager to have, despite looking for a final opponent. Riddle didn't work with Goldberg in WWE, but he did team with Randy Orton for a long time, and according to the former US champion, he'll team with Orton again one day. At the signing, Riddle said he'd love to finish the story with Randy, and said that unless one of them passes away suddenly, it's a guarantee that he'll reunite with Orton one day. Riddle hopes that reunion will be in WWE, but time will tell if that ever happens, especially as Riddle knows firsthand that plans can change very quickly in WWE. When asked about plans being changed, Riddle revealed that he was supposed to win the men's Money in the Bank ladder match in 2022 before Vince McMahon changed plans. He explained that at the last minute, McMahon made it so Austin Theory would win, and said that Vince really likes Theory and that he's happy to see Austin doing well in WWE. The Money in the Bank briefcase wasn't the only massive win taken from Riddle, according to the ex-superstar at least, as he also revealed that there were plans for him to win a Royal Rumble match. According to Riddle, he was told at one point he'd be winning the 2022 men's match, but that changed when Brock Lesnar arrived and said he was going to win the match. Lesnar, who according to Matt didn't want to do business, then won the match, setting up the unification match at WrestleMania 39 between himself and Roman Reigns. Riddle accomplished plenty in WWE, but there's a lot that fell by the wayside. But for now, Matt Riddle has a lot of big plans outside the company he called home for many years. For as great as Roman Reigns has been since his transformation into the Tribal Chief, one of the biggest criticisms against him is that his appearances for WWE are too sporadic. In 2022, Reigns signed a lucrative deal with WWE that made his appearances even rarer, but one veteran of the business believes that Reigns is in fact around too much. On Busted Open Radio, Mark Henry made the argument that Reigns shouldn't be around as much as he is, and explained why. He said, "I said that like 3 months ago. He can't even be around all the time, crowds and stuff, because of the medicine that he takes. He needs rest, like not from wrestling, for living. I have a friend that had leukemia, and when we're in the car, he wears a mask, just not to breathe the air. I might be sick. My daughter, she gets infusions every so often because of her Crohn's. Her body does not defend itself against everything, so if she gets a cold, it could be pneumonia. It's different with people like Roman." Reigns has beaten leukemia twice, with his second win coming after he had to step away from WWE in 2018, and he would return to action the following year. Roman Reigns' next confirmed match will be at the Royal Rumble later this month, where the odds are against the champ, but win or lose, expect a lengthy break for Reigns after this match. With the Royal Rumble coming up, fans are excited to see who appears in the two 30-person matches, as these are often used for shocking returns and debuts. Who could forget AJ Styles' shocking arrival to WWE in the 2016 Royal Rumble match, but one prospect WWE seriously wants isn't going to be in the Women's Rumble match. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select reports that Julia won't be in the match, despite WWE wanting her badly, as her Stardom contract has her locked in until March or April of this year. It was added that Julia wasn't very happy about the reports about WWE, as she has other obligations that are important, and it was said that she hasn't hired anyone to represent her in contract talks. AEW was interested in Julia a while ago, but her name only came up as a possible Stardom talent they may be able to use, and nothing serious amounted from this passing interest. It appears that Julia is WWE bound if things continue to progress in this direction, but as we've seen before, anything can happen in pro wrestling, especially when contracts are concerned. In 2013, L.A. Knight signed a development contract with WWE and spent a year in the Performance Center before being released, and would go on to make a name for himself as Eli Drake. With his skills in the ring and on the mic, Knight became a massive star, which ensured his return to WWE years later, but despite being a bigger star, he earned far less in WWE than on the outside. Speaking to Insight, Knight revealed that he took a pay cut when he returned to WWE, as he was focused on just getting back in WWE, and bet on himself that he'd earn more in WWE eventually. Knight also spoke about working under Vince McMahon, and admitted he wasn't happy at that time, saying, "Vince McMahon had a vision for this thing that put such a microscope on it, and I didn't know what the hell it was, and it just wasn't going well. I was very unhappy, and I'm sure he probably was, and then at some point, it was just like all of a sudden, I'm not on TV, and I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure I'm fired. I'm pretty sure this whole ride is over." Knight has certainly proven his value to WWE and has plenty of catchphrases and pieces of merch to his name, but that may not have happened if Vince McMahon stuck around. Back to NXT, which saw Nikkita Lyons and Blair Davenport get into things before the show as they brawled in the parking lot, famously the most dangerous place in all of WWE. The fighting continued as the show began, starting the match early, and while Lyons used her strength, Davenport caught her with a chop block and a pair of short-arm knee strikes for the win. This was a solid battle that showed Lyons picking up where she left off, and she and Davenport have chemistry to explore in a longer, more competitive match. This match ended at the 5-minute mark to perhaps highlight that Lyons needed more time to get right before she could make Davenport pay, but Blair winning was the right call. This was the right time to keep the Iron Survivor winner's momentum, as she needed the win here more than Lyons, who will certainly get it back in a match with more hype down the line. NXT Women's Champion Lyra Valkyria announced a Battle Royal next week, which will lead to a Final Four Fatal 4-Way to determine who she faces at Vengeance Day. Lola Vice and Elektra Lopez interrupted, and Valkyria dared Vice to cash in her title shot, but the pair attacked the champion before Tatum Paxley made the save. As a partial developmental brand, NXT provides segments like these as good practice for Valkyria and Vice, though neither seemed all that comfortable delivering lines in front of an almost silent crowd. Vice is still in the learning stage at NXT and does not come across as a serious threat to capture the NXT Women's Championship, but at least Valkyria and Paxley versus Vice and Lopez is a solid match. The story of Tiffany Stratton's day as a farmhand with Fallon Henley played out, as the former women's champion realized the hard work that went into the farm's upkeep. This lived up to the hype and should not be the end of Stratton and Henley working together on TV. In singles action, Josh Briggs picked up a big win over Oro Mensah, and it's a good thing for Metaphor that they're over enough to withstand taking loss after loss. In tag team action, the family defeated O.T.M to retain the NXT tag titles, and it remains to be seen what team will be able to take the gold from Tony D'Angelo and Stax. Cora Jade defeated Gigi Dolin, and while Jade has shown significant improvement, she needs to open up her moveset if she's going to challenge Lyra Valkyria at an upcoming premium live event. In a backstage segment, Gallus reflected on their loss during this week's NXT when Joe Coffey noticed Ridge Holland walking by 1 week after his sit-down interview about being an unsafe worker. In that interview, Holland addressed the Ilya Dragunov injury from a few weeks back, and Holland was also part of the SmackDown match in which Big E suffered a broken neck. On this week's show, Coffey mocked the interview and told Holland that he didn't fear him, and was also uncertain about Holland's future now that he's no longer part of the Brawling Brutes. It'll be interesting to see where this program goes from here, as Gallus and Holland could soon find themselves as bitter enemies, or perhaps the unlikeliest of allies, in the months to come. On AEW Collision, Adam Copeland's open challenge was accepted by Griff Garrison, and this 6-minute match, which Copeland won, seems to have divided pro wrestling fans. On Busted Open Radio, Dave LaGrecia and Bully Ray said that there had been some chatter as to why the match took place at all, and Copeland himself gave his reasoning. Copeland explained that the match, and others like it, will be a learning experience for young talent, and he wants to give back to the newer generation. He said, "Because long after I'm gone, Griff Garrison will be there in AEW, and just like Bad News Brown showed me, or like Rick Martel showed me, or just like Tom Pritchard showed me, or Pat Patterson showed me, or Michael Hayes showed me, or Bret Hart showed me. I'm in that stage of my career. If he can get in there and we have 5 minutes of time in there, I feel like he can learn more in that 5 minutes than he would in probably 200 matches with people of the same experience. And I know that sounds kind of cocky and egotistical, but that's the way it was for me when I was his age, and that's what this is. I believe it to be, but that's why." Adam Copeland expressed the joy of adding layers to the ongoing story and stressed the significance of patience in storytelling, citing classic wrestling rivalries as examples. Copeland named the likes of Dante Martin, Lee Moriarty, and Zack Zodiac, saying they play a part within the story that he and Christian are trying to tell. The Hall of Famer said that people these days are too demanding of seeing the ending of a big story straight away, and saying when that happens, fans complain that it happened too quick. For Copeland, this match and others like it are another chapter ahead of his final match, and said it's like the slow burn of feuds from his childhood, such as Ricky Steamboat versus Randy Savage. Copeland's next match will be a similarly low-key affair, as he'll be part of an 8-man tag team match in which he'll team with Orange Cassidy, Dustin Rhodes, and Preston Vance. They'll face off against Brian Cage, Lance Archer, Toa Leona, and Bishop Kaun in a match dedicated to Brody Lee, and we'll have to see how Copeland fares in this multi-man tag match. The last time fans saw Rey Fenix, he was losing the AEW International title to Orange Cassidy in October, but this week, Fenix gave an update on his condition. Fenix told Denise Salcido that this is one of the worst injuries he's ever had, but he's working with doctors and he's doing his best to be back in the ring soon. Fenix's ailment involves a troublesome back, a troublesome hip, or possibly both, and we're wishing him the best on his recovery. During the 2023 WWE Draft, MVP negotiated for Omos to remain a free agent so that he could be a special attraction on both brands, but fans sure haven't seen much of this attraction as of late. Now though, fans could be seeing a new side to Omos, as BWE reports that there have been discussions about repackaging the Nigerian giant for his return to programming. WWE has been using Omos at house shows, where MVP is offered thousands of dollars if anyone can knock the giant off his feet, but nobody has claimed the money thus far. Omos is said to be well liked in WWE despite his menacing character, but that character could be in store for a major repackaging in the future. Now, the September 2023 WWE releases also saw Dolph Ziggler be cut, and after making his New Japan debut at Wrestle Kingdom, Nick Nemeth's first match for the promotion has been confirmed. Nemeth will face David Finlay at the NJPW New Beginning Night 1 show on February 23rd, and after brawling with Finlay last week, expect Nemeth to hold nothing back in this anticipated match. And we're ending with Kevin Dunn, who left WWE last month after a tenure that began before the first WrestleMania, and it's been confirmed that Lee Fitting is the new head of media and production. WWE President Nick Khan has called Fitting an exceptional leader with work that garners critical acclaim, and we'll have to see what the Lee Fitting era of WWE programming looks like. AEW is also making moves of their own, as Fightful Select reports that Kosha Irby is set to join AEW, potentially as the company's chief operating officer. Irby brings a wealth of experience, having served as the regional director of live events for WWE, so his hiring is quite the win for those at AEW.